Oh, hey, how's it going, everybody? We're live. How's everybody doing today? We're going to be talking about some serious stuff because as we have sort of evolved into this situation with Aron, you know what? I say Iran. And it's not like that I don't know how to say it correctly. It's like a sign of disrespect, not to the people, to their government, because their government is absolutely terrible. And so it's kind of brought up again this idea of how many possible sleeper cells we have in this country. And so I wanted to talk about this. I had made the assessment that, we do have credible information and knowledge that Iran is very close to having nuclear capabilities. Now, Tulsi Gabbard came out and she said that that's not true. And then there's other more recent information saying that it is true. So we'll look at that too. But I wanted to look at this whole situation. But a lot of this is going to be about how there is credible information that we have sleeper cells here. And you would have to be naive not to think that. But we are going to be checking out. This is Sarah Adams, you guys. And I'm sure that some of you know who Sarah Adams is. Maybe there's a few of you who don't. But trust me when I say I believe her to be a very credible source of information. Thank you, Scott Johnson. Big love.
But the Biden border, it wasn't just open to migrants from Latin America. Our guest believes that thousands of highly trained terrorists snuck in as well. So Sarah Adams is a former CIA targeter and author of Benghazi, Know Thy Enemy. So Sarah, thanks so much for joining our show. So we look at this mainstream media narrative that's out there, and they were saying, oh, the riots, they were kicking off due to all of the ICE deportations, right? Karen Bass even went on CNN earlier today and said as much. So do you think that there are other factors at play here, or should we just kind of believe the Karen Basses of the world?
No, I mean, there's multiple things taking advantage of these protests. Obviously, there's just the paid kind of far left elements who fund these, but also terrorists have taken advantage of a lot of the protests starting after the attacks in Israel in October 2023. Being a part of the propaganda, embedding themselves within the actual protesters, and then running different campaigns. They've done some for pro-Hamas. They've done some around Afia Siddiqui. She's Lady Al-Qaeda who's detained in the United States. And then they even did some around, I don't know if you remember in St. Louis, there's a gentleman on death row. And last fall, the Al-Qaeda got involved in that to make more relationships with the Black Lives Matter movement. So all these movements have some sort of relationship and they're coming together. And really the propaganda is bring down, the evil colonial empire, which is the United States.
Now, I don't know if you guys remember, she has been talking about this for a while. This is not new news coming from Sarah Adams when it comes to talking about that there are sleeper cells, that there is an imminent threat. Sarah Adams has been talking about this for like well over a year. I remember just not too long ago, Sarah Adams came out with an interview on the Sean Ryan podcast. It is impeccable. If you guys haven't checked that out, if you're interested in this type of thing, she is absolutely somebody that you should check out. And that interview between her and Sean Ryan is absolutely fire. But she's been saying for the longest that having these open borders, they have been able to identify that there have been numerous sleeper cells that have popped up around the country. They have gotten some of them, others they haven't got. So, you know what I'm saying? We have this thing going on with Sarah Adams. Let's hear a little bit more from her before we move on, you guys. Because Sarah Adams is a wildly intelligent, educated, and plugged-in person.
Sarah, I just was really impressed the last few days with, seeing our old friend again, the actual professional agitators pulling, mini color revolution once again. And, I don't think you even need to be a trained professional to see this. If you've watched a lot of the 2020 riots and you're just a regular person, and then you watch what we've seen the last few days, you see professional, agitators. So, I mean, I didn't know that we'd see it again, right? It did sort of disappeared for a while, at least at this scale. So do you think that this is going to increase, or, has this run its course?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to increase not just the professional agitators. Remember, they make money off it. Some of these people, this is their full-time job, right? But also, there are bigger plans for the United States, right? There are big terrorist attacks coming up, and a piece of it is to bring the public in to protest and boycott the government and to actually back the terrorists and to say, yeah, we deserve this. You know, it's like, I don't know if you saw when the letter to America that Osama bin Laden had put out.
They're radicalizing our own people. There are sleeper cells here, I believe, is what she's saying, and it makes perfect sense. And you see how effective they're being at it, at radicalizing our own people, not just against our government. Because, motherfucker, I don't trust our government. I've never, raise your hand in the class if you trust our government. There are things that I trust more than our government, like Detroit tap water, gas station sushi. There's a whole list of fart after 40. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just going to say, they are radicalizing our own people against each other is the saddest fucking thing to watch. You see these acts of violence in the streets, and I guarantee you there are people who are here for that purpose, to radicalize the people against not only our government, but against each other.
Many years ago, like last year, it went viral. It went viral, right? Because they have an audience now who are easy to manipulate. And a lot of that is to do with TikTok and things like that. But it's something we should be very concerned about because the terrorists are being very proactive about it.
Yeah, let's dive into that a little bit more because you do think an actual terrorist attack is on the horizon. And I know that you wrote an open letter to the U.S. intelligence community. So what should we be looking for as citizens here? What should we be trying to focus on? Because, again, we know that there is so much information and disinformation out there. Just tell the American people what we can actually do about this.
Yeah, I want the American people to know this is kind of their job now, because what I put in the letter is the US government right now has the wrong leader of Al Qaeda and the wrong leader of ISIS. Think about that for a minute. So we can't trust them to thwart this when they don't even know who's running these groups. So what we like to tell the public is, you know, it's really that, I know it's lame, but see something, say something, right? All these terrorists do dry runs, they do surveillance. If something is off, report it, right? It might be off, and then prepare, right? Get first aid training.
So I think what she said is really important, even though it sounds corny, right? It sounds cliche, but we have cliches in our society because they came from somewhere, and there's some truth in all of the cliches. Stereotypes too, if we're honest about it. We're not supposed to say it, but see something, say something. There have been multiple terrorist attacks that were thwarted because people saw suspicious shit. There's also been citizens that were completely innocent that ended up getting fucked up by the police because nosy Karens called and said somebody was suspicious. Like, don't call because you see somebody that looks too tan for your liking and have the police come. But if you see somebody doing some truly suspicious shit, man, say something and be prepared. It takes men that are willing to fight and women that are capable and willing to fight when shit like this goes down. Imagine if the people on those two planes were like, fuck a box cutter, homie, I'm going in. And they took those dudes down. I'm not trying to victim shame the people on those planes, but if it was me, I'm sorry, dog. You're not subduing my ass and flying me into a building because you have a fucking box cutter, homie. I'm from prison, dog. I'm going to fuck you up, period. End of sentence. Dominar said, all veterans and active duty members give a shout out to us, Navy. Huge love and respect to all veterans and all active duty, man. And the Navy, too. Doc Madness, I trust a wet fart more than the government, and I'm a government employee. My guy, your opinion is the most valid. Your opinion is the most valid because you're on the inside. You should definitely do a collab with Brian Head Welsh from Korn. He's a recovered addict that came to Christ. Seems like an awesome guy. I love Head, bro. I love Head. Fuck, that sounded so sus. I love Brian Welsh, And his story's really inspiring. You know, he struggled with meth like me and came out the other end. And I was the biggest fucking Korn fan until I met those dudes. But I think they were all in a bad place when I met them. And I don't judge them by that one meeting. I would love to work with Brian. 80 Deuce, I love head. Now people are saying it in the chat because I said some sus shit again. Totally unintentional. Is there anybody in this chat who thinks that it's unreasonable to assume that we have people who took advantage of the border situation that have bad intentions for our country? I think that's a no-brainer. I think that's an absolute no-brainer that that's a reality.